the publishing arm of Classwork Projects, we've decided to do a pre-recorded session for the Anarchist Bookfair. Whilst none of us can do any in real life stuff anyway, we thought it was a good opportunity to start thinking about how we can put our things online. And if you don't know what the Classwork Project is, or you don't know what Lumpen is, then look us up online at www.theclassworkprojects.com. Yeah, we're good, and we do stuff around class in the UK and how it fucks us up, and then also, what can we do to finally have that revolution that we've been waiting for, and other things between being fucked up and finding a much nicer way of living. So obviously a lot of the stuff that we do is pretty heavy. We have a lot of people who want to talk about all the shit that they've gone through. So it's sometimes quite difficult and hard and scary, but actually really enjoyable and lovely. And we have loads of people who write for us and a lot of people who come along to our workshops, and it's just been, in the year that we've existed as a co-op, it's been really great. Anyway, and so in the next 45 minutes to an hour, we have 5 different people reading their work, including Dorothy Spencer, who is reading from her chapbook, which is the first one of our chapbook series. It's called See What Life Is Like, and that came out this year, so please buy it from our website. Coming up first is Sam Batley. He has a short poem, then Connor Robertson, Hannah Batley, and then finally Russell Christie. I'll let them introduce their work, and you can hear no more of me. Thanks for listening.
I'm Sam Batley, a poet from the Dearne Valley in South Yorkshire, currently based in Liverpool. Absent air. Blast furnace white, blind eyes in black rooms, loneliness, old me. Formless vistas in peripheral paradise, dance lonely boy. Sing them songs with no words, static buzz, numb throat. Removal men wonder why there's note to remove. Alabaster nightmare, bleach white fairy tale. We all wonder about the light at the end of the tunnel, but no one ever gets there. Burnt out by heat wave nausea and the last touch of love. Kisses in the first light. Refracted feelings dance across the artex. Dizzy acrobat. All bellyful blinkered. A fistful of lumen for an outful of dark. Caustic soda. Shadow play iris. Negative bathwater sublimated across the face of a familiar street. The lights are on, but no one's in. The curtains drawn on phosphorescent din. Pragmatic approach to a late night ordeal. Voicemail ringtone. Thoughts louder at the other side of emulsion's veneer. Solitary confinement in the 2-bed. Refusal of the obvious. Everyday bastard. White heat fingertips, burnt again on bulled glass. We're all in this together. We're all in this alone. A tired mother's glare. Contagious anguish on aisle 5. Worry stinks. Lingering. Malignant street ensemble. Dance across cracked flags on every corner. So we ignore it. Phone face lit like a figure in a bus stop. Translucent woman. Opaque headache. It's sunk in like a frog down the throat of realisation. Can't be me. It is. You seemed so much better last week. Well, things change. I woke up with my head still in bed, and at end of the day it were gone. Who's coming pity party? Me and I. Orchestrate the pieces into place, manipulating hands unseen, pleasantries of a forgotten tongue. Lap the finger and thumb, puppet master pulling the lines up, 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 dangling in the tangle. I'm not autonomous. I'm not in control of the proper settings behind the console of beaded eyes. Smoke drifts in and out, breathing lungs, diaphragm split, bloody nose, ooh me, ooh's me. You've as much as him in the distant rear view, all back slouch, glass-eyed, purgatory's waiting room, white plastic chair table arrangement, mannequin-esque, magnolia, motionless, carpets tired from countless feet, sat in front of ownerless bodies, black chuddy circles, rotted eggs from the paper mix, pulled a lost colour together. Who's he? He's you too. Blind to my own deficiency. I'm a lying witch. Beg of Peter to pay Paul. Hands in pockets. Absolutely fuck all.
See What Life is Like, a collection of poems by Dorothy Spencer, published by Lumpen and dedicated to Fagash Lil. Club Classics. I walked out one evening, a Saturday night, to what you might call an entertainment district, the main drag, throbbing with queues to nightclubs and expectant dicks. Come the early hours, the streets will be covered in broken bottles, vomit, blood and urine. But for now the lipstick is red and the heels have yet to blister. I give a man on the pavement some change, stop to talk. I offer him some of my whiskey, he refuses. He is the soberest man on the street. He's had 4 hip replacements that his body keeps rejecting. He got sepsis. I was half man, half abscess, he says. Watched my legs split open, all the way like a pod of peas. They drained a pint of pus out of me a day. Oh God, that's really awful, I say, it's really awful. I light a cigarette. Smoke? No, don't smoke, miss. Then I think about how nearly all homeless men call me miss, and nobody else does. Spare any change, miss, please, miss, thanks, miss. I wish I had a bed, miss, so I could take you back to it. I wish he had a bed too. I wish we all had beds in warm, safe places, and I pray for world peace. I'm hoping it'll arrive on a raft of corpses on a sea of blood. La-da-dee, la-dee-da, la-da-dee, la-dee-da. And the nightclubbers walk by. They are thoroughly absorbed in their lives. They gossip, they flirt, they stagger like newborn foals, clopping while grinding happiness between their teeth, in big gurning motions. But anyway, I don't begrudge them that, all the drugs, and I wouldn't stop 'em dancing if I could. Play on the sounds of redemption, from here to Clapham to Kingston to Hounslow to Harlow. And the music don't feel like it did, and the music don't feel like it did. I hope their sweat cleanses them of their unknown sins. I hope they vomit in a way that is violent enough to exorcise the week's disappointments. I hope they find something like love on the dance floor, a stiff one against the back while dancing. Come into my life, I got so much love to show you. I hope that it's tender, though I fear it will be rough. I hope they have someone to hold their hair back. I hope their doubts stay buried deep. I hope they don't come up along with the sambuca and confront them from the toilet bowl screaming, "Do you think you're better off alone? Do you think you're better off alone?" I hope they look hot, and I hope their ex was there and has got fat. I hope they laugh with their stomachs and feel alive in their guts. I hope they come up fucking screaming hosannas or baby I'm yours. I hope it all ends well. I hope it's all alright. I hope they never know. I hope they stay this way forever. While me and Sepsis sit here and watch. And we laugh occasionally at it all, but with no abandon. And it's cold. It's really cold. And I run out of things to say, and so does he. So I go home, I've got a bed, and I lie in it, and pull the covers right up. And I dream of merry-go-rounds, where the horses bray, and gnash their teeth. A momentary view. Sometimes when I'm really living, and everything pours into me, I feel so full up. All the light from the afternoon, and the gold of the evening, the smells of you and me together, and dry grass on the wind, the sky and the sea and the river that goes there. It feels so easy to be living. No great mystery after all. It is all just enough. The world is deep and comprehensible, and I am a part of it. All the complicated questions fall away, as if they were never really there. And I wonder why I ever doubted an arrangement as simple as this. The knowledge that this joy is available to me means I must live in regard to it, and sometimes in the shadow that such brightness creates. For I will always know that it is possible, because I have seen it, and I will not give in to the holes I might fall down, as deep and hollow as they are. For I know on this earth there exists a person like you, with a sky sometimes blue above them. And who am I to relinquish a dream so sudden? Stone cold. I want to be able to hate you with all the coldness and hardness of a stone. I wish you wouldn't go picking flowers and arrange them by my bedside when you just called me a cunt, bitch face, fuck off. Why do you have to give every nasty little thing you do a sweet ending and send me texts like, "Goslings on the riverbank today, sweetie, nearly shed tears. How are you still eloquent sometimes after all that Stella you drink, just to remind me that there is still a bit of beauty left in you that might be worth holding out for. Why aren't you a total bastard? Why aren't you rotten through and through? Why do you bring me honey home and still remember that sardines are my favourite fish? I can tell from 10 feet away, by the glaze of your eyes and the gait of your back, how much you've had to drink, and sometimes, looking at your face, I think about getting the frying pan, since you laughed when I tried to hit you with my small fists. Sorry won't cut it, darling daughter. I'm not entirely stupid, but I will be in bed as I'm shitting blood. I wonder how much hate is needed to truly get rid of love, like a stubborn stain. Sometimes I think I've reached it, and then the sun in you comes out. And God, you are so funny, and understand something about life that makes you truly special. And when somebody suicided on the train tracks, and everybody called to see if it was you, so I went downstairs to see if you were there, or dead on the tracks. And there you were, in fetal on the floor, sleeping and stinking and fucking ugly in so many ways. And I still felt gratitude for your continued existence on this wretched earth. And maybe it's not all your fault. But anyway, the short of it is, I'm not able to hate you like a stone. The picket fence. Most people are lonely. Out of practice, they forget how to talk. Their conversations are nervous, banal, and their dreams severely limited, unable to imagine much more for themselves than a nice house, a stable marriage, decking, fat children, a gate that opens and closes, people coming, people going, and a slow decline from there. The dream isn't a good one, often fails and disappoints. I know because I've listened to men with something diminishing in their eyes who tell me I look like a girl from their favourite painting. Toulouse-Lautrec, his legs never grew past a child, chewed up by those horse he painted. In me they see their wives, who left them for someone at the office. The predictability really bites. Lovers they wish they'd clung on to, ones that might have stayed. Daughters who don't visit or call. Sisters they love to fight with because they always won. And mothers long since in the ground. I feel bad for them, sat alone in their houses and unable to finish a loaf of bread with just one mouth before it goes stale. A ballad for broken men and bruised women. She told me I was a baby, she said. She said that's the way all men are really, and then she took the car. She took the car, you know, and I haven't seen her since. She don't pick up, James. He sighed, looked down into his beer glass. The head had collapsed. Rachel, she's a good girl. She's a smart girl. She'll be back. You know, women are, you know. Well, you know what women are like. She'll be back. Know what they're like? My God, James, I really don't. Women are, you know. They find all your soft places. They find all your tender parts. They get to know 'em all. They get you all fucking mapped out. They mark the spots where your skin is the thinnest. You know those places where you can see the veins right through. Well, Rachel loved 'em, you know. She always used to say. She always used to stroke me there, look, on the inside of my wrist. See how the veins are? Right there like that. They're proper close. Look that's a very delicate place right there, isn't it, I mean? It's very vulnerable, and that's where people cut themselves, isn't it, when they've had enough, and bleed out like pigs, like halal pigs on bathroom floors. And now it all makes sense. He lit a cigarette then, and looked far away, out through the window, although a building stood right across the street, so you couldn't really look that far away at all. I'm telling you though, you've got to be very careful with them, very careful, because they get right inside you, they do. They're very good at that, and then they open you up like a bloody packet of crisps, and then they take your car. I mean, what's she doing now, right now, in my car? That's what I'd like to know. Westmid Hospital, August the 3rd. You text me at 3 a.m. to tell me that you love me, and then ask me to send 30 quid. This happens at least twice a month. I always give, you always pay back, and I'm yet to find out how you found such a cheap dealer. You don't love me as much at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. or even 12 p.m. because you're still asleep. And when you wake up, you are full of hate for yourself, and the rest of us are just appendages. The situation gets worse, and the texts become weekly, then every few days. You aren't paying back as much, and didn't make it to my birthday, because you were skint. You could have borrowed the 30 quid for dinner, but you said you couldn't do that out of principle. It was my birthday, I mustn't pay for your meal. I send some money Tuesday evening, a particularly sour day of the week. You tell me you love me on the phone, your words loose and sweet. The next day you don't pick up. Wednesday I hear you're in the hospital, because you took the 30 quid, and after that all the pills in your kitchen cupboards. Valium, codeine, pregabs. They pump your stomach, you come round, and the world returns like a big wet fish around the face. And you're pissed off that another attempt at obliterating yourself has proved unsuccessful. You lie there on starched bedsheets, fuming and broken. The look on your face is enough to bring me halfway to my knees, remembering, God, how we loved life together once, and it was so easy to do. We gave ourselves to it, like something to the slaughter, and you were so beautiful. But it ain't easy now, is it, Lil? Living or dying, and there's no simple way out of this indiscriminate fix. Body death and soul murder. At least a hamster in its ball is breaking the boundaries of its cage life. At least a dog kicks up mud and dirt as it runs along real ground, though the track is predetermined and the rabbit is a fake. You run towards the greatest nothing and 4 TV screens mounted on the wall, simultaneously playing the news. Can't pay will take it away and cash in the attic. To think we spent all this time figuring out how to escape the daily plough and body pain, calluses as big as onions, dysentery and not enough to eat, only to arrive at the end of history, running precisely nowhere, wedded as we are to a still life, live not on our feet but in chairs, and not in chains, but in bondage, to machines as dumb as treadmills.
Greetings, Faith. My name's Connor Robertson, and this piece of work is called Where Are We Now? Where are we now? In a car, stolen goods veer off track, out of balance, dirty windscreen, can't see properly. The sun beats down, the air is stuffy, stifling. Fag smoke fills the car, it stinks of meat, McDonald's or Five Guys. The toxic air freshener don't cover it, and crispy croutons litter the back seat. You've got antifreeze, the driver screams as aerosols roll uncontrollable back and forth among broken seat belts and a crowbar. Reaching behind, amongst it all, the driver grabs an aerosol and huffs at it. Coughing uncontrollable, the car veers and screeches and wobbles as it swerves out of the way of an oncoming BP truck. Bursting with laughter, crying, the driver reaches back again for the crowbar and beats the radio furiously as the anchor tells him lies. Woo! The driver screams as he scoffs his burger then discards it, half-eaten, out the window. The meaty patty lands with a slap and a thump on the roasting hot tarmac as the car goes thump, thump on the snake eyes, and the man grabs at his heart before screaming and lighting up a cigarette. Accelerating with arms outstretched, he weaves the car over the camber. Red lights unnoticed, the car carries on, catching air over roundabouts. No left turn. The driver bawls and wails and flicks a middle finger at an old man standing by the crossing. Ha ha ha! He weaves through traffic, accelerating still past an ambulance, smashing its lights out as he goes, and looking back through his windscreen mirror he sneers as he spits. A great big dirty grogger. Hysterical now in self-sabotaging laughter, he pushes his back into his seat and arches over the wheel, grinning. He licks his teeth like a comic book villain and fondles at his crotch through semen-stained pinstripe chinos, swerving to kill a cat as dead bats and birds fall from the sky. Where did all these dead bats come from? He doesn't care. Only for the thrill of pure, instantaneous, grotesque gratification does he live. He cannot give to anyone, but take, and plunder. Screaming bloody murder makes you wonder, why on earth? The car goes on. The madness continues as the red sun sets into the road's horizon, its end. But it goes on relentless. The accelerator hits the floor once more with a huff, a crank, a hiss, and a bang of broken engine failure. Laughing more with glee, a high-pitched wail explodes as grease and drool exudes. The one-man band Laughing Monkey cries and crashes on and on and on. He sees no wrong, goes on incessant. Steam now lightly pouring from the bonnet's edge, and little chuffs and wisps of white and black smoke warn him, but of course he doesn't care, or see the great big red and white stop sign. On he goes, his one-track mind slowly erupting, one with the rattling metal beneath the bonnet. The broken bolts and loosened screws shake, 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 delirious, overcharged, overheating, over the crest of the hill, catching air in the wind as the thrill rushes through his veins and pound at his chest. Landing, sparks fly. Rubber tire marks the spot, and with a glint in his eye, our madman searches instantly for something else to try and take him from himself. A cheap family car up ahead, but so soon within his grasp, fills the hole momentarily as he jerks his steering violently into it. Whiplashed youth are strewn about the back seats, and Daddy's heart is in his mouth as he tries in fear to control his motor. Mummy screams in fear as our lunatic veers at them once more with a drooling grin. Screech, bang, wobble, flip, flop, the victims tumble upside down onto the side of the road as our driver slows down as if consumed by remorse. But no. Just to get a closer look at bloody Daddy's bloody face merged one with the upside-down windscreen. Laughing, hitting the wheel with a palm smack, a heavy pat on the back, he accelerates. The thick black reek and white steam billowing now increasingly clouds his vision. Heat from the exhausted engine seeps into the car, and the sweat that was rolling from him now pours down onto the wheel. Bored with motorway driving, our GTA superstar takes a squealing right turn at the roundabout as he skids black marks off into the countryside, crossing onto the wrong side of the road to kill a hedgehog splat flat dead with a warm smirk and a sense of achievement. Climbing up the hill into the country, the car shakes and bellows more smoke, but he powers on up it, regardless of the red warning signs lighting up his dashboard through the smog like frightened little children in the night. Fear for their lives. Battery dying, red oil pressure, red oil level, red oil temperature, red light, regardless of all the red lights flashing in his face, regardless of the smoke and the steam and the stifling heat that billowed and blinded the windscreen, leaving sticky little patches of reek and soot, he thundered on down the road. A sickly sweet stench of ethanol glycol clung to the back of his throat, with a tinge of bitter, acrid tar. As the smoke entered the car and mixed with oily sweat on his brow, a heat haze appeared, hallucinatory, in front of the ongoing blur and bubble of the black smoke and steam and condensation. Black slaps of branches whipped at the car and jolted him as he veered off-road and into a cavernous tunnel of dark, dark woods. Flattening the springtime daffodils and silver birch saplings, a frightened family of cautious roe deer dart back in fear into the woods and look on, confused, as the car skids back onto the road with a trail of displaced earth behind it. Coming out of the woods at the bottom of the hill, a pristine valley opens up in the last gasp of sun's rose light. Solid stone walls guide the car, forcing it left around the bend and over the bridge. Onto the other side of the bridge the road takes another left the way the river flows. Blinded by the dirt and soot, the driver takes another sharp turn to the right and flies high over the edge of the road and into the woods. Suspended in the air a moment, the motor engine continues to growl and rev and smoke like fuck before colliding head-on with a 1,000-year-old yew tree. Scattered. Tossed like a one-penny piece through the broken window screen, the fucking psychopathic driver scalps the old tree and tumbles into the dirt and the leaves behind it, unconscious, as the abused engine ignites at the base of the old tree.
Hello, I'm Anna Batley. I've been involved with Lumpen for around a year now after I participated in one of the classwork projects, workshops in Sheffield. I found the workshop was a deeply transformative experience, and it totally smashed the trajectory of where my life was going and my association and relationship with class and being working class. Lumpen have continued to support me financially, emotionally and creatively since participating, which is how I find myself doing this today. Alongside writing and outside of my work that I do with Lumpen, I'm a community organiser for a co-op in West Yorkshire called Equal Care Co-op, which is looking to remodel the way that social care is commissioned broadly. By trade, I'm a community educator, and I teach critical thinking and creative writing, and I've done that across South Yorkshire 4 years now. And I'm currently working on developing a project that looks at storytelling as a conflict resolution strategy for self and community. And I'll be studying this as my master's thesis, and the project that I'm developing will be delivered around Greater Manchester and in London. My big love in life is the woods, the outdoors, Scotland, my family, obviously, and my partner, and then beyond all, Yorkshire tea and toast with jam on. This poem can't really be classed as a traditional poetry. I would say that it's prose, and it's called Mr. Jones, a policeman from South Yorkshire, is a rapist. Fine drizzle lays thick over rolling hills. Lush green leaves bear the weight of heavy rain droplets. Yorkshire stone soaks moisture, turning sandy tones to grey. I am reliving the night that you raped me. Recently, this happens more frequently, a symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder. They are called flashbacks. The images retch upwards like undigested food that refuses to stay down. Instead, it sits in my mouth waiting to be spoken, waiting to be painted into the bigger picture, except there is no bigger picture because you made sure of that. You poured liquor down my neck as if I were Thor drinking before the gods. I suppose you saw yourself that way. A God who could take whatever privileges he wants, like the dried cunt of an intoxicated teen. Perhaps the power of being a guardian of the state encouraged you to rape me. Probably others too. Perhaps the authority to oppress gave you the right to lie, gave you the right to my body as if it were an extension of your needs, not mine. When I woke, it was the absence of my bright blue wonder bra that reminded me. Reminded me of the difficulty of you removing it. You modelling my body like a mannequin as I lay wrestling the waves of unconscious. I remember this before I remember where I am and how I got there. My bra was a marker for the trauma my brain had tried to eclipse. I laid and stared, panic-stricken, unable to blink. Stiff, like a skeleton. Wish I could have been. If only this body could have been somewhere else. Thoughts trickle inward like condensation down a steamy window. It was my fault. Had I wanted it? You interrupted my questioning with a jovial pop of the head around the door. Silence. I peel back the duvet. Retrieve tainted garments that sit like a car crash on pristine cream carpets, walk my dead weight to the bathroom. In the hallway, I see a stain. Sick. Remember running. The memory makes my body constrict. This time, there is no alcohol. Just trauma. I splash my face with cold water, unable to look at my reflection. I breathe shame downwards, lifting my head as I do so. Downstairs, Medusa has turned my tongue to stone. I drink down too warm, sugary tea in the hope it will remove the taste of you in my mouth. You are chipper. An utterly mesmerising performance. You drive me to my mum's. Capital FM's Jojo speaks in excitable, husky tones, rousing hung, drawn heads up from the dead. The sound of the radio makes an attempt to harmonise with chaos. It doesn't work. Overly friendly radio presenters obscure the reality of the moment so far from reality that I am no longer sure what reality is. We arrive at my mum's. I exit the car. Breathe shame downwards for a second time, pretending courage. In my room, I undress by choice. I stare at my naked body in the broken mirror. Jung says when the soul has been damaged, it returns to the water. And I wonder whether this is why all the women I have spoken to who have been raped wash themselves and bathe afterwards. I barricade the bathroom. Enamel arms holding me in what I imagine is amniotic fluid. My mother's womb. I conjure thoughts of rebirth as I dunk my head under scalding water, hoping that heat will dissolve the pieces of him that are lodged beneath my skin. The bath is not hot enough, so I drain the dirt and turn on the shower. Scrub until my skin feels as raw as my mind does. The cleanliness of my skin only draws a paradox to the way remembering feels. Lobster red, I return to bed, too hungry to eat. On waking, I am riddled with the anxiety of not knowing. A sourness sits in the stomach as if the toxicity of this event has been consumed like a hot dinner. Did he use a condom? Did he come inside me? On Monday, after school, I go alone to the clinic. Sit, searching the faces of other young girls, the tartan skirts showing they went to Macaulay. Showing youth. I wonder why girls who went to Catholic schools are waiting in the clinic. Hannah Batley! My name erupts from the speakerphone. I stand. Walking feels like something I have never done before. Feet glide like oil over water toward Michelle, who shows me where I need to sit. Michelle asks, "How can I help you?" Breathing turns erratic. Tremors spread from fingertips to ribs to teeth. Teeth chatter uncontrollably, preventing speech, and I find myself bent over face, facing knees. And there is this sound. Loud. It's coming from me. Michelle tells me to breathe. She fetches over a plastic cup with water. I wonder if it's holy, and if this is why the girls from Macaulay come here. I breathe shame downwards for a third time. This time, I smile. Hand takes the water and mouth gulps. Brain extracts the images with tweezer-like precision, placing them in dimmer zone to process. Michelle tells me I have been raped. She brings another plastic cup and the emergency pill. Tells me they'll be needing a sample. My story never exits the dark room.
Hello, I'm Russell Christie, and I'm well, where to even begin on self-definition? I'm currently studying for a master's in screenwriting at Brunel University in West London, because it sounds cool and because universal credit isn't much to live on. But if you study part-time and take a master's loan, you can keep the change from the fees. In my case, after universal credit deductions, that's about an extra 20 quid a week. A tip there. And a lot of people on my course didn't have an undergraduate degree, so talk your way in if you're just getting by on universal credit. I self-published a novel in 2015. Well, I made a pretend publisher to do it for the credibility. Another tip for you. If you want to look it up, it's The Queer Diary of Mordred Vienna by Russell Christie, IDQ Publishing. It's a gay novel without a picture of a half-naked youth on the front, but there are some inside, so don't worry. Anyway, what I'm going to read for you now is an excerpt from my piece in the current edition of Lumpen. That's the October 2020 edition. The piece is about debt and wealth and knowledge and about how the material is the psychological. Here we go. In the red, in the black, in the rented white Cadillac. I still don't know what money is, apart from the cash in my hand. Everything not in hard currency is still just an idea, just numbers, unreal and abstract, not part of my world. My dad didn't have a bank account. We lived in a rented house, cash in hand, week to week. Money, like possessions, was hard copy or nothing. There was no theoretical money or financial instruments, no elsewhere of money. And after, there was neither cash nor trust fund to be passed on. Being working class, yeah, I know I speak like this, it's a long story. Being working class means both a lack of inheritance in hard copy, property, savings and investments, and a lack of inheritance of knowledge in managing these things. Financial knowledge is not part of working class cultural inheritance because there is no material inheritance that it represents and regulates. In wealthier families, a knowledge of the abstract operation of money and property comes with the territory. It's in the blood. It's absorbed from conversation. It surrounds you in materials that speak. The house around me whispered, "Not yours." Rather than a knowledge of mortgages and credit, my inheritance was cynicism about wealth and the instruments of wealth, perhaps born of resentment at not having them. Cynicism and ignorance in relation to wealth and its instruments combined in phrases like, "Mortgages are just millstones round your neck." For most of my life, when middle-class friends have discussed inheritance and property, I've said, "Oh, I didn't have any inheritance." "What, nothing?" Some of them are astonished. "There must have been something." And I'm equally astonished that there wasn't, because it feels like there was. A void stares at me. But wait, this void is not nothing. There was an inheritance. I inherited blanks and absences, debits and inhibitions rather than credits. I inherited disdain and contempt, a resentment for wealth and its instruments, perhaps as a self-defensive formation, a self-protective dismissal. I inherited a lack of knowledge along with an absence of money. Inheritances are both financial and cultural. For the working class, because what is passed on is in this negative territory, it is taken as simple non-existence. But the lack of material inheritance has a corollary function. Financial voids are repeated as cultural voids. A lack of knowledge represents an empty will in all its meanings. In a financialized world, ambition is difficult if you can't even see the structures of its financing. The practical rungs of the ladder are invisible and unknown. Did my unfamiliarity with the financial world, my ignorance of its reality and my inherited cynicism about it, feed into my blithely becoming involved in credit card fraud in the US in the 1990s? ... We flew to New York, rented a Cadillac and drove up to Boston. A new white Cadillac with the just-introduced high-torque North Star engine. An aspirational machine, adding power to luxury. It roared and its front end lifted as you put your foot down. The air was full of leather, the couch of the front seat was cream with tan piping. The dashboard automatically illuminated as dusk fell and we hit the interstate. Driving, I stretched my arm across to Max, a curly-headed, brown-eyed New York Jewish boy who'd picked me up one Sunday afternoon in the End Up bar in San Francisco. He'd managed to prepare a dose of heroin, melting a lump of Mexican tar into a teaspoon of salt water held steadily above a lighter, thanks to the smooth ride of the Cadillac. The veins in the pale crook of my arm were neon blue by the dashboard light. He fixed me as I was driving. The warmth poured into the capillaries of my liver, heart, and brain. The caddy lifted and rolled on the cotton of its dynamic suspension. We were going dumpster diving for credit card information. To find out what happened next, you'll have to get a hold of Lumpen. For more of my California adventures, check out my novel, The Queer Diary of Mordred Vienna. I've been Russell Christie. Thank you very much for your attention.